My business partner and best friend secretly drained our account while I was in a hospital. We had been partners for 11 years. 11 years is a long time to be in a business with someone. It is also a long time to be friends with someone, and for us, those two things were always inseparable. We became friends first, partners second, and the partnership worked in a large part because the friendship was the foundation. That was what we always said. That was what I always believed. We met in our late 20s at a professional development event that we both found equally tedious and ended up mocking quietly to each other from adjacent chairs. She was sharp and funny and had a way of reading a room that I immediately recognized as rare. We went from drinks afterwards with a group of people and stayed 2 hours after everyone else had left. By the end of that night, I knew I had found someone I was going to know for a long time. We started the business 3 years after that. It was in the events and hospitality space. I won't be more specific, and it grew from 2-person operation working out of her spare bedroom into something with real infrastructure, real clients, real stuff. The growth wasn't fast, but it was steady and it was ours. We made decisions together, argued about them openly, compromised when we had to, and came out the other side of every difficult stretch still talking to each other. We had a partnership agreement. We had joint accounts. We had a level of financially transparency with each other that I extended to almost no one else in my life. I trusted her with my livelihood. I trusted her with my money. I trusted her with the version of myself that was most vulnerable, the version that had real fears about failure and real attachments to what we'd built, because I thought that trust was mutual. I want to be precise about what I meant when I say she was my best friend, because I know that phrase can sound like an exaggeration. It is not an exaggeration. She was the first person I called when my mother was diagnosed with cancer. She was in a waiting room when my mother came out of surgery. She was the person I drove to at 2 a.m. once during a period of my life I don't talk about often, because I needed to be somewhere I felt safe. She had been present for every significant thing in my adult life for over a decade. I need you to understand who she was to me before I tell you what she did. I had been having abdominal pain on and off for about 6 weeks before the hospitalization. I attributed it in the way busy people attribute things, to stress and bad eating habits, and the particular punishment of running a business through a difficult water. I took antacids, I drank less coffee, I kept working. When the pain became something I could no longer functionally ignore, I went to my doctor, who sent me for imaging, which revealed a problem that required surgery. Not life-threatening in the end, but seriously enough that the surgeon wanted to operate within a week and warned me that recovery would take time. I would need at least 2 weeks of genuine rest. No work, no screens, no stress. I told her immediately. Of course I did. She was my partner. She needed to know. And beyond that, she was my best friend, and I needed the person who knew me best to know what was happening to me. She came to my apartment that evening. She sat with me while I processed it. She held my hand when I cried a little, not from fear exactly, but from the particular frustration of a body that had failed its schedule. She told me not to worry about the business, that she had everything covered, that my only job for the next few weeks was to get better. She said, "You focus on you, I have us." I had us. I have thought about those 3 words many times. I went in for surgery on a Monday. The procedure itself went well. The recovery was harder than I'd expected. There were complications, nothing catastrophic, but enough to extend my hospital stay and enough to make the first week genuinely difficult, in the way that physical vulnerability is difficult when you're someone who is not accustomed to being physically vulnerable.